Hello and welcome to episode 1162 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Monday, April 10th. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this morning, or afternoon, excuse me, by Justin Mason. Justin, good day, sir.
Good morning. How you doing?
You said morning too. It's the afternoon.
Oh,
It's the middle of the afternoon for both of us. What are we doing out here?
it's nap time for me.
It
So
is. I do like a good midday nap, dude.
mhm.
I will certainly say that. But I had to eschew it today. I had a lot of things going on before recording, and now we're recording, and that's okay. I'll live without my nap, as nice as they are. I tell you what, I love a nice nap with baseball on too. Now, baseball haters would say that the baseball causes the nap, like puts them to sleep. And
Mm.
I just like falling asleep to some baseball. And we did have a nice little day game there. You and I both got a Reynaldo Lopez save from the White Sox. That's the only category that I'm good in. But I won't spend all episode whining about my team, and there's no Michael Kopech homers to watch fly out of the yard. We're going to talk about some big injury news, some very unfortunate injuries. Then we'll get into some of the pickups of the week and just kind of talk about some of these major players right now. But let's start with the big news. It looked bad right when it happened, and a lot of times you see something and you're like, please look worse than it was.
Mhm.
Nope, it was bad. I was watching the game live. Oneil Cruz coming home from third. Zebi Zavala was kind of like blocking the plate. I'm not saying that it was like he was doing anything wrong, but like the plate was kind of blocked, and it caused Cruz to kind of have a weird stilted slide, and it ended up busting his ankle up. He's going to be out for 4 months. It almost effectively ends his season. He's obviously a cut everywhere. I mean, is there anywhere where you are keeping him? Because I
I mean,
guess you
other than
can.
keeper leagues, like
Yeah,
you're
you
just
can.
or unlimited IL
You
spot
can hold him
leagues,
with
like
an IL as long as you can, even in a minimum IL, like four ILs. But you're going to eventually have to get rid of Cruz. It's almost a certainty unless you get lucky there. So that's a huge bummer. It really sucks. Do you have Cruz anywhere?
I don't. I mean, I think I might have him in a dynasty kind of. I don't think. I think I traded him in my dynasty league, honestly, or one of my dynasty leagues. So I think
I
right
know you
now is the
like
time
him.
to like, yeah, right now is like the time where I'm like going to other people in my dynasty leagues and going, hey, you need help for this year? I'll
Well,
trade you
yeah,
for Cruz. Like, I'm trying to get him back in the leagues where I traded him away.
especially if you're already looking to the
Hmm.
future, it is the time to check in and say, hey, I mean, obviously I'm coming in. I know you just lost him. I am looking for a discount. I'm not going to try to rake you over the coals, but if you'll give me a little bit of a discount, I'll
Hmm.
get you a little fill in here for the year, and not a little fill in, but I'll make it worth your while. And let's talk trade. I think that is a move you can definitely do with Oneil Cruz. But let's talk about some replacements in different leagues here. We'll do shallow and deep. Let's start on the shallow end. Isaac Paredes for the Rays was an interesting sleeper type for folks. You know, he has those great plate skills. He showed the power off last year. My big issue with him was being platooned on the short side. That was my concern because that's what
Hmm.
happened last year. He's playing virtually every day though. An off day here and there, but he started against the last three righties as well as the lefties. Of course, he moves up in the lineup against the lefties. And Isaac Paredes, he's off to a perfectly solid start as well. I mean, a good one at that, 153 WRC plus and a couple homers. Nothing stable as far as your numbers. He could have an for the series here that he's about to start, and then all of a sudden he's off to a bad start or whatever. But he's playing every day for the most part and looking pretty good. Triple eligible, I believe, in most formats. How do you feel about Isaac Paredes as an Oneil Cruz replacement? Now, it wouldn't be direct. It would be MI
Hmm.
if you have Cruz at MI because Paredes does not qualify at short. But what do you think of Paredes in the shallow format?
I'm I think Paredes makes a lot of sense, especially because he's got that triple eligibility, which makes him like the perfect guy to kind of fill in a bunch of different spots. Um, yeah, I mean, Paredes was a big target for me kind of late in draft season. I'd been really in on Aranda early on.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it seemed clear that Paredes had kind of, surpassed him on the depth chart, he became my target. So he's on a lot of my teams. I think he is someone you should pick up. I think the only question becomes long term, what do the Rays do with minor leaguers like Curtis Mead and Kyle Manzardo? Like, do they come up and is Paredes the guy who ends up losing out if and when they do. I think he can hit his way and make that a non-issue, because I do think that hit tool's good enough. But I think in the back of your mind, if you're thinking long term, there are some question marks down the road, because I think the Rays are a really, really good team that wants to compete. And at some point, they're going to need to bring up these guys, because I think they're going to make that roster better.
Yeah, I mean, Mead and Manzardo are two guys that people definitely gave some love to in deeper leagues, like draft and hold, saying, hey, I'm going to take this guy and see if they can make the team at some point this year. But we know they like to move guys around, and Paredes' triple eligibility should help keep him in the lineup. We'll see what happens with injuries there. Obviously, that changes the outlook of everything, right? The second that we start to say, oh, this is how it is, someone gets injured and creates a whole new avenue. So for now, I like Paredes. Also, Miguel Vargas with the Dodgers is another guy that you could certainly bring up. This is another one where it would be more the MI. The next two guys we're going to talk about in the shallow formats would be straight up shortstops. But Miguel Vargas can have an MI qualification as well out there for the Dodgers. What do you think of Miguel Vargas' early start to the season?
I mean, I love Vargas. And I mean, I love his approach and his understanding of the strike zone.
Oh, he just took another walk.
Right, yeah, exactly.
They're not even playing right now. He just took another walk. 38%.
He was walking into the dugout, and they credited him for a walk. So
that's pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta love that. I just don't know that he's gonna have, what you've coined as fantasy juice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think there's a ton of power. I don't think there's a ton of speed. I think he's going to be a more of a sum of the all parts kind of guy. I do worry about potentially the defense, making him lose time if he struggles defensively at second base. So I like him, and I think right now, especially on base percentage leagues, like he should be rostered everywhere.
Oh yeah, even shallow like 10 teamers. Mm-hmm. Obviously, with these walks, you got to have Miguel Vargas on. I think he's got to be the classic, not necessarily on your team, but some team in 10 teamers.
But I do think that when we think about guys who are like, hey, this was a top 10, top 15 type prospect, even for fantasy, like we often think, oh, that means their ceiling is huge. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think it's, especially for Vargas. So I think sometimes, these guys, they're a top tier prospect because their floor is so high that we expect them to succeed, not because we expect them to be future first round picks. I don't think Vargas is that kind of, future star, but I think he's a future very good player.
I think that's a great way to put it. And I like Vargas a lot. Can't hurt getting on the Dodgers. I know we've talked ad nauseum about how their lineup isn't the peak lineup that it's been in recent years, but it's certainly not bad either. And so you'd like to get a piece of that. Vargas has a lot of availability in shallower formats. If you had Cruz at MI, you can slot him in over there. If you had him more as your shortstop, a couple guys that you could maybe look at in shallow formats. We'll get into some deeper guys here in a moment. Brice Turang and Orlando Arcia. Turang playing second base, but has shortstop eligibility, at least at Yahoo. That's where I pulled the names from. And then Orlando Arcia, of course, has been the shortstop for Atlanta to start the season, off to a pretty solid look thus far with a couple homers and a 316 average. Turang has a homer, 2 steals. He's got excellent plate skills right now, and even strikeout to walk ratio at 15% apiece. He's been awesome because I thought he was glove only, and he may well be, right? 27 plate appearances doesn't say that he's not, but he is off to a fast start. Who do you like better between Turang and Arcia as far as replacing for Oneil?
I think it's Turang, because I think Turang, being so young, like the upside is unknown, right? Like I think we know what Arcia is at this point. He's a good, solid player, but like, is he going to be a 25 homer homer guy? Like, I don't think so. He doesn't steal bases anymore.
Yeah,
he's never really going to work his way up that lineup. He's probably always going to be batting at the bottom because the lineup is so good. Whereas Turang, like, there is a scenario in which he becomes like a really big stolen base asset. Maybe he added some power. He gets on base quite a bit. Maybe he could move up the lineup. Like, I think there are ways where we go, Turang becomes the guy that's really, really interesting for fantasy. I think Arcia is nice because he's safe. I think he's going to play every day. Mm-hmm. And I think he offers a solid floor. So I think the deeper the league you get, maybe you start moving over towards Arcia just because the floor and just the day-to-day production will be there. But in your 10s and 12 team leagues, like, I want Turang because I think the upside potential
trying to
is
hit.
there. Yeah.
Yep. No, I think you said it perfectly there on Turang versus Arcia, particularly in the shallow format there. Let's move into some deeper formats where these guys are available. Somebody that's off to a really quick start, and again, caveat that I'll give 8 billion more times over the next few weeks. These things can change on a whim, but we got to go with what we've got. And right now, Geraldo Perdomo is hitting with the quickness. He has a 600 BABIP. I don't think that's going to last. Call me a hater. But he does
How
have
dare you?
I know. What a jerk. But he has an 18% walk rate and 23% K rate. So the plate skills have tightened up nicely. And, things are going really well. Homer and a steal. And he's playing. And that's really the big thing. And that was something that I was only taking Geraldo Perdomo in draft and hold leagues. So I don't want to act like I was super in on him or anything. 50 rounds. The reason I went for him is they committed to him so much last year that I was like, they have to love this guy because he played terribly. And they still gave him 500 plate appearances. And I know Ahmed wasn't there for most of the year, but still, they committed to a guy who had a 58 WRC plus for 500 plate appearances. That tells me that I felt like they have some commitment to him. They wanted to see this guy through. So they're playing him again early. Geraldo Perdomo looks like, even though he's a switch hitter, he's sitting against lefties for Ahmed. But hey, that's still strong side platoon. What do you think of the quick lightning start of Geraldo Perdomo for the D-backs?
All right. So prior, or maybe it might have been opening day or the day before opening day. We saw a bunch of people in the industry tweeting out hey, these are my most rostered guys, right? And I did something a little bit different. I made a full fantasy lineup with my most rostered guys.
Oh, I like that.
So by position, this is who I have the most shares of. And in shortstop, it was Geraldo Perdomo.
Really? Okay, nice.
He's on 35% of my teams because he's on all my draft and hold teams. Because I think he's going to play every day or pretty close to every day. And he was my third or fourth shortstop in a lot of leagues. There's power, there's speed. The question is, will he make enough contact? Obviously, this is going to regress. He's hitting 460 something, and his XBA is
now
204. Yeah.
Now who's the hater saying his 600 BABIP and 438 average won't last for Geraldo Perdomo?
Yeah, he has 0 barrels during this time. He's got a 45% line drive percentage.
Those singles are finding the gap or finding the grass, baby.
Yeah, which is fine. But I think he's also a guy, like I said, he's going to play every day. You're only really caring about him in kind of deeper leagues. So
yeah, these are the deeper replacements.
Mix and NL only. But I think we know he's got some pop. We know he's got some speed. And as long as the Diamondbacks are willing to play him, I'll kind of play that game a little bit, and and until the next guy comes back, that I pick up. So
I'll make you rank the deeps, but I got to go back to shallow because I had one guy under deep that was supposed to be in shallow, and it's our boy Ha-Seong Kim. I know we both love him. Are you going and picking him up over any of the guys that we talked about? So again, let's review it. Paredes, Vargas, they would be if you're only filling middle for Oneil Cruz. And then Arcia, Turang, and Kim, they could fill the shortstop gap specifically if that's where you had Cruz. What do you think of Ha-Seong Kim? And then I'll make you rank all 5.
I like Kim a lot. I would definitely take him over Arcia. I think I would take him over Turang. The hard part with Kim is we really thought until Tatis was going to be back, he'd be, leading off, maybe hitting second. He's been hitting 6th through 9th just exclusively. He hasn't even had a single game in which he's batted higher than 6. So that's only going to get worse with Tatis back. That's not getting better as the lineup moves down.
They've stayed committed to Grisham at the top. They've remained committed to Grisham as the top guy, and then going right into the studs with Machado, Soto, Bogey.
So as soon as Tatis comes back, it may stay the same, and maybe Grisham's the one who gets vaulted back down to the bottom. But there's a chance where he's not batting higher than 7th, in this lineup.
I bet Grisham holds against righties, and Tatis bats second, and then they go Tatis, Machado, Soto. I think that's how it works. Is that
maybe for Tatis, a little bit, but at some point the Padres are going to realize that Grisham sucks. At some point,
except he hasn't sucked this year, and he's actually a good player, and he's playing more like the good player that he is.
Small sample.
12% walk rate, 26% strikeout rate is a bit much, but he has 3
Yeah.
bombs so far. He only has a 261 BABIP too, so when that regresses, actually, I don't even know if that's going to regress. Grissom's starting to look like one of those guys, like a Max Kepler type, who's kind of set his own BABIP, and it happens to be below the 295, 300 level that a lot of players live at, because he's a career 274. So I don't know that that's going to regress. But either way, Kim is going to be a bottom of the order guy, but I really do like him. I would say, while I do think Kim is going to run some, if you need the speed of Cruz, like, because you were betting on some speed and power, so you could go either way with it, I would go for Turang over Kim if I really need the speed replaced. If I've got my power in order and I can sustain the Cruz loss, sure. If you want more of the punch, even though I don't think Kim is a power hitter, I would lean more toward him between Kim and Turang.
I think the only reason I'm going to disagree a little bit is because Kim is already eligible at shortstop and third base, and he's going to pick up second base pretty quickly. He's already got 7 games played there, so he's going to, sometime this week he should be eligible at second base as well. So triple eligible. I'll take Kim over Trey.
Okay, and then rank all 5 of them here. Paredes, Vargas, Arcia, Turang, and Kim. Again, this is shallow replacements for Cruz, and then we'll get into the last 2 deep replacements.
I think for me, it's Paredes, Vargas, Kim, Turang,
Arcia. Mine's the same. Don't even have to disagree there. All right, so continuing with the deep, we talked Geraldo Perdomo. Let's talk the direct replacement right now. My boy, Rodolfo Castro, back in the mix. Oh, man, I kind of want to get him back now. I didn't really have a spot in my main, and he didn't get picked up. So what's going to happen to me is he's going to have a huge week, and he's going to be like a triple-digit guy this weekend or some shit. But he is going to be back in. Ji-Hwan Bae could end up being the shortstop, move Castro back into second consistently, or they just split short and second some way. But it is a big boon for Castro's playing time. He was not playing as much. That was something that you did say early on. He played I don't have the whole week here. I have Tuesday through Sunday. He played 3 out of those 5 games. Castro is in the lineup today. Bae is not, because it's against the lefty. But what do you think of Rodolfo Castro as just going with the direct replacement on the same team for Oneil Cruz in a deeper format?
I don't mind it. I mean, I think he is kind of like the diet, Coke version of. He's like the RC Cola of Oneil Cruz.
Like he strikes out as much, but definitely doesn't have the flavor, which would be the homers and the steals. So
he's got some power.
Yeah, no, he's got a little bit of each. Like it sort of replicates it, but it's not that same rich flavor
He's the Splenda version.
Yeah,
like it's
that's a good way.
So
to
I think that,
and I love Castro. But I agree with that comp.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's totally fine. So, and I mean, he's second and third base eligible, right? So. And now I'm going to be playing shortstop pretty regularly. So it makes a lot of sense. I had him as my backup bid on my main to replace Luis Garcia, who I dropped this week.
Who'd you get in his stead?
Kyle Farmer.
Oh, okay. I should have included him. Because he is playing. I have an anti-Kyle Farmer bias. I don't know what it is.
Is it because of your time on Farmers Only, didn't pan out real well?
Hey, man, you don't have to bring that up. They didn't like the city boy. They could read right through me, man.
It's the mustache.
I couldn't.
If that was a full man chew,
you think I could have pulled it off more?
You could have pulled it off.
They could read right through me. They're like, "You're a hipster dweeb. Get out of here, city boy." Yeah, and then, but that's all right. I found Jen, and she's one.
Should have worn the overalls. Yeah,
that's the thing too. I wasn't committed to the overall. No,
Farmer's been playing really, really well. And
I thought you were going to nail what it really is, though. It's my Jose Barrero love that made me a Kyle Farmer hater, because
and that's carried over even though he's not on the Reds anymore.
It's once you have that blind spot, sometimes it's tough to remove it. And not only that, Barrero also is terrible, so I should just alleviate it altogether. But yeah, Farmer is playing well. He doesn't strike out. That's like his main thing, so he can keep a pretty decent batting average, a little bit of punch. He's not a great base stealer, but I wonder if he's one of those guys who could randomly spike a 10-pack because of the new rules, right? Like he was 4 for 7 last year.
Even if he just gets 7 or 8, I'm super happy with that.
That'd be fine.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And he's
include
playing
Farmer
regularly. So yeah,
in these deep replacements here.
I
You like
think
him a
he's
little bit.
probably only. I probably only like him more than Arcia. Like if
Okay.
that's the case, like
And then
I
let's
probably.
go. Hang on. He had a low percentage at Yahoo, but this last guy, yeah, he doesn't really fit deep league. I had Enrique Hernandez as a deep league, but he's 77% at the main. So I don't know. He's not going to be that available at deep leagues. But let's talk about Kike Hernandez real quick anyway. He had a really, really bad year last year. Remember, he used to be everyone's kind of favorite, utility guy, multi-eligible, does a little bit of everything. Never really ran all that much, but a little bit of pop, runs ribbies, a little bit decent batting average here and there. It's been pretty dry since that 20 homer season in 2021. 2022 was really, really bad. And then so far this year, though, he has a couple homers, but that's it. He has an 0.63 BABIP. 15% walk rate, though, 29% K rate. That should come down because his swing strike rate isn't like egregious compared to recent years. So I think that he'll be fine there. Do you like Kike Hernandez with the Red Sox at all, though? Because they're hitting kind of decently.
Not particularly.
Okay.
Um,
Does he trump anybody in the deep portion here? Perdomo, Castro, or Farmer? Would you take Kike over any of those three? Because I'm not sure I would.
I think you could make the argument for it because I think his playing time is super, super secure. He is going to play
I agree with that part.
all the time. But I think so is Farmer. And so I think maybe you make the argument over Perdomo. But Perdomo's upside is just so much better.
He's 22.
Yeah. I
Like,
mean, people forget he was a
so
top 50
young.
prospect.
Yeah.
I mean,
And now Castro's playing time is secured, at least for now. If he sucks, they'll kick him out. But even with Ben
if you're
hopping
looking for
off,
if you're looking for floor, you go with I'm going with Farmer and then
Kike.
Kike and then Perdomo. If you're looking for upside, you flip that. You go Perdomo or Farmer. Kike.
I'd go Perdomo, Castro, Farmer, Kike, but I will put Farmer above Kike. I will remove some of my Farmer bias. Let's go to Kike's teammate, another bad one. This one also looked terrible off rip, although I've seen these before where a guy is trying to make a sliding grab and his wrist kind of flips under him and you're like, oh, it ends up being okay. Not all the time or anything. I'm just saying sometimes that you escape with a decent, just a sore wrist or something. Not the case for Adam Duvall. It is a fractured left wrist. That really sucks. He's like one of the hottest players going right now. Obviously, he was never going to stay at that level, but it's been a really fun start to the season for Adam Duvall, and he's going to be out for at least a while. Obviously, he's already on the 10-day IL. A fractured left wrist, I got to imagine that's going to be, 6 to 8 weeks?
It depends on how bad the fracture is. Yeah,
there's nothing in the write-up on NBC Sports.
They were very, very cryptic about it. Boston's general manager Bloom was he was like talking about it. He's like, we'll have more information for you later. Like, oh, okay, that doesn't sound good. And then they just put him on the IL, and we haven't gotten an update, at least as far as I've seen. So this is a huge bummer for someone like me because I was writing my weekly, buy low, sell high article, and I was all like, sell. I had this whole paragraph written out for Adam Duvall, and like, if you've got him, sell him now before like the bottom falls out. And I've had to delete that and write someone else's name. So. It is a bummer. He was crushing it. He was playing every day. Things were going to fall off maybe this is the best thing for fantasy players, right? Because now you don't have to worry about when you jump off the bandwagon. You jump off right now, just drop him and go pick someone else up. You were bound to jump off pretty soon anyways, but you were enjoying the ride while it was going.
Just Googling it without knowing the extent of Duvall's fractured wrist, which is a broken run, 6 to 12 week range. So probably 6 to 8 on the low end, 8 to 12 on the high end. He's a cut everywhere for me. Again, unless you have multiple ILs and you can hold on as long as you can, or infinite ILs, sure. But anything like NFBC where you just have 7 reserves, no IL, insta-cut for me with
So
Duvall.
yeah, 3 IL spots on
Three ILs.
Yahoo
You can hold him with the 3 IL for now, but just know that you're almost
as
certainly
long as
going to cut
as long
him.
as they're open, because
Yes, yes.
most people in those leagues are already struggling. Like,
Oh yeah,
I had people today in my chat who are all like, "Oh, I've got 4 guys on the IL. Should I hold on to Adam Duvall?" No, like
can't do it.
just I want that bench spot,
especially since we know that he's, that he was going to come down to some degree. Even if you believe that he was going to have another 30 homer season and like be pretty decent, he was never going to hit at this level, so he's going to come down.
And what do we talk about with power hitters coming off of wrist injuries? That a lot of times that power is sapped anyways. So like a power, what if it's a powerless Duvall for the first month he's back anyways? Like a powerless Duvall is just a body.
Yeah, it's just a player playing some maybe decent defense. All right, let's talk some replacements then. Let's go shallow first, of course, and go back to the Dodgers. Talk James Outman, who's been an early fantasy success story for the Dodgers. He's not even really platooning right now. I mean, they only had one lefty last week, and he did start against them, so it's hard to really say for sure. But 3 homers and a steal, a couple triples already too. So definitely smacking the ball around. 20% walk rate. He's taking the page out of Vargas's book. Strikeouts are there though, 31%. And a 12% swinging strike rate. So the swing and miss is definitely part of Outman's game. And as that 43% homer to fly ball rate comes down and the 385 BABIP comes down, we'll see the numbers regress. But I think there might be enough fantasy juice here that James Outman has shallow league appeal. What do you think of the Dodgers rookie?
Okay, so if he's available on your wire, you have to pick him up. Like, you just have to pick him up and ride it right now. If you've been rostering him, now's the best time to shop him. So, spoiler alert: if you do read my, buy low, sell high piece,
he took the place.
He took the place, and I love Outman. I've got Outman on a bunch of teams. You heard me talk about him back in November as a guy that I was putting in the back end of my draft and old rosters. So, like, I'm enjoying the profit, but like, I don't know if his value is going to be higher than it is right now. He's just getting super lucky on balls in play. He's striking out quite a bit. The one thing I am liking from him is he's not swinging outside the zone. His O swing is like 20%, which is a really, really good sign that he's got a better understanding of the strike zone than maybe even I thought he did. So I think it all depends on the Dodgers, right? Like, the Dodgers are a competitive team. If he struggles, will they continue to give him run, or will they put him on the bench?
That's good.
And that scares me a little bit, because I don't think we know the answer. This isn't the Dodgers teams of past that have been super loaded, but it's still a very competitive team. So if I could get like a top 100 player for Outman right now, I'm selling him. If not, then maybe I just ride with it and see where it goes.
Yeah, it's like, you're not saying sell because you think he's a piece of garbage. No. You're saying sell because the value could be as high as it's ever going to be.
Everybody's talking about him. He's going to be the name on every article, the name on every podcast. Like, he's got so much heat. And while I'm part of that, and I believe in the talent for the most part, like, if I could get like Alex Bregman is someone, like, I keep getting questions about. Oh man, if I get Alex Bregman for Outman, I'm doing it in a heartbeat. And there are going to be leagues where that happens.
Cutting or sitting Bregman, they are insane. Mm-hmm. I've been seeing it too, but it's utterly insane. We're going to do the same shit that people did last year with Marcus Semien. And Semien, I think it was worse because he has so much fantasy juice with his stealing and power. But I think if you're cutting Bregman, and obviously I was huge on Bregman coming into the year, but I'm obviously not daunted at all.
I'm not worried at all about this.
Other shallow league guys, your boy, your new friend here in San Francisco, Michael Conforto, off to a fast start. How do we feel about what he's been doing so far? I think you're probably going to say that you like Outman ahead, but let's assess Conforto on his own. What if Outman's already gone? Do you like what Conforto's been doing? A lot of strikeouts, 33%, but a lot of power. 3 homers and a 250 ISO thus far after missing all of 2022. What are your thoughts on Conforto?
See, here's the thing, though. Like, I think if I was doing a straight rank of them, I would have Conforto above Outman, because
you would.
If I'm going rest of the year, if I'm going for like the next few weeks, I'm probably going Outman, right? I'm going rest of the year. If we get to September and I tell you, throwing injury out, right? Both these guys stay healthy.
If they're both playing,
one of these guys is a starter and one of these guys is not a starter. It's Conforto, right?
Yeah, I guess if you're taking out the injury thing, sure. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess the shoulders are looking nice because the power's been
he
there. I
looks
haven't watched a lot
fine.
of Giants games, but I mean,
Yeah.
this looks like a Conforto season so far. And remember, he used to be a fantasy darling, and then these injuries took over and just have kind of ravaged him since late 2021. He played 125 games that year, and then missed all of 2022. Had the botched signing thing where they're like, oh, let's do a showcase with him. No, turns out he's hurt. And so he just sat out the entire year. But if he's back and raring to go, Conforto has big boy power too. He can play in. I mean, City is not a power park, and he did fine there, so he can live in San Francisco just fine.
And his swinging strike rate is right where it's been his entire career.
Suggesting that the 33% K rate will come down.
Yeah. His O swing, his problem right now is he's being a little bit too passive. But I think that's just the Giants' approach of, we saw this in 2021. The Giants had these big breakout years. What do they tell guys? Wait on your pitch. Be passive. Don't be afraid to take a called strike. And that's what he's doing. And then he's rocketing the ones he does get. Once he finds his pitch.
Yeah, so he's is getting his pitches.
So, like, if he stays healthy, could he have, like, a Brandon Belt type breakout, like a 2021 Brandon Belt type breakout? I think he could.
Or just a Conforto breakout. Just get back to what he was doing in 18 and 19 when he was putting up like 30 bombs and a 250 average with killer OBP. Okay, so you're higher on him than I thought. I like it.
And it's a bummer for me because I stayed away from him in draft season.
Didn't touch him.
He was pretty much not on my board just because of the shoulder issues. Yeah. And the shoulder issues could still be a concern. Like we're a week into the season. Like
we're not wrong yet. It's going to take a long time for us to be wrong on that. But that's why I stayed away too. I'm hoping that the talent is back and everything looks good because, like I said, he was a fantasy darling and I liked Michael Conforto. But I stayed away due to the health concerns 1,000%.
But both of these guys should be rostered in every format, as well as the third guy.
Yes, this next guy, Garrett Mitchell, going back to the Brewers, out of his mind right now, playing very well, hitting some massive hits, not only in terms of the quality of them, but at the time of game when he's doing it. 3 homers already for Garrett Mitchell, 286, 333, 714. Again, gonna smooth out from where these numbers are, but everything's going well. He hasn't even started running yet because everything's an extra base hit right now, and so he hasn't had. You can't steal when you're hitting homers and triples. I guess you could steal home if you want, but he does have a triple as well. Garrett Mitchell is playing consistently. He is sitting against lefties, but I think even as a strong side platoon, that could be enough for Garrett Mitchell. How do you feel about him as a replacement for Duvall? And then I'm gonna have you rank all 3: Outman, Conforto, and Mitchell.
So. Unlike, we're just talking about like Conforto, like I think the strikeouts are going to come down and stuff because of the approach and because of his eye. Like, the strikeouts are not coming down for Garrett Mitchell. Like this is who he is.
That's part
he's going to strike out. Yeah, he's going to strike out 30% of the time, but the other, in 30% of the time, his the balls are just going to get caught or whatever, right? The other third are going to be really, really exciting. So he's a guy that has a ton of power. Like you said, he's got a ton of speed too. I think he is. I guess he's platooning right now, but his defense is good enough where I think like he should play more than just like a strict strong side platoon. So I think he will get some opportunities versus lefties, in spite of the fact that he can struggle against them. It's high upside, man. This is prime Carlos Gomez type stuff where there is a world where a 30-30 season could happen. There's also a world in which he's in the minor leagues because he's just striking out at like an unsustainable rate. And so I think, especially now that he's hot, like I think you have to roster him, but be ready to drop him because I think the floor could fall out at some point. But I love it. He is a guy I target, especially in early drafts.
You got to monitor a guy like Mitchell because things could bottom out with the strikeout rate. I agree there. So Outman, Conforto, Mitchell. Are you going Conforto, Outman, Mitchell? Is that what I'm understanding here for shallow format?
For shallow formats, okay. So for shallow formats, I'm going to take the upside on Outman, then Mitchell, then Conforto. Deeper formats, I'm going deeper formats. I'm going Conforto, Outman, Mitchell.
Okay, less availability on those three in the deeper formats, but we do have some deeper format guys. Let's start with Chas McCormick. Chas McCormick has been elevated in that lineup. He batted first the last 2 days, and now he's first on Monday. As you're listening to this, the game has not started, but he's going to be batting first. Pena's been moved down. Pena's plate skills, they were ugly at the end of last year, and they've started off ugly, and they said we got to move you down because this lineup is not deep enough to withstand him batting near the top of the order with those plate skills. So they put the 10% walk rate of McCormick up at the top. He has 2 homers, 3 steals. He'll do your taxes. If you get that joke, then you're a long-time listener, or you've seen it on Twitter. But yeah, what do we think of Chas McCormick? He's playing well, and I think I told you that he could be a better steals guy this year, and he already has 3 compared to his 4 last year. So I am going to take an early victory lap on that one.
I mean, there you
he's already
go.
1
right?
steal away from 2 steals away from topping last year. So I feel like I can take an early lap on that one.
I feel like
don't bring up Eloy Jimenez though.
Yeah.
Don't bring up Eloy Jimenez's
that one
health.
hurts. Or Tim Anderson's health for that matter, because he left today with a knee issue. So
That's unfortunate. Thankfully, we weren't pumping him up. We knew the risk on him. But yeah, Chas McCormick, what do we think? Great start so far.
Okay, so one of the big issues for McCormick in the past has been the swing and strike rate being really high, leading to a big strikeout rate. The swing and strike rate right now is like around 10%, which is really, really good because he's always been a guy who can take a walk. Mm-hmm. He's doing this by just being passive at the plate. Like his zone swing rate and his swing rate in general have just dropped. He's 67.7% swing rate last year, down to 60%. Or sorry, that's a zone swing rate. So overall swing rate 48% down to 43%. He's being more passive, so it's harder to swing through something if you're not swinging.
Yeah.
But it's working because it's getting on base, giving him stolen base opportunities. Right now, he has a full-time role. Will that change though? If and when Michael Brantley comes back, if and when they add to this roster, maybe at the trade deadline, I think you got time for him to, establish himself. If he continues to do what he's doing, then they will figure out other people's playing time.
He's the center fielder right now too, so Brantley doesn't threaten that. That's for sure. And unless this Corey Julks goes crazy, because he can play center, but that's it.
I mean, it would threaten it a little bit because, like, Brantley would have to play in a corner or play at DH, and then
he'll take DH, and then Julks gets
Julks and Myers has to figure out.
Julks goes back to the minors, 100%.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
No, not maybe. 100%. You can't keep McCormick, Julks, Hensley, Myers, and Brantley all. They
send Salazar down.
Salazar's a catcher / first baseman.
So they don't need 3 catchers on the roster.
They don't need 9 outfielders either. I guarantee that Brantley's return, if McCormick is playing well, and I'm not even including at this high level. I'm saying if he's still doing what he did last year, he is not threatened by the return of Brantley. Only way they're threatened is if Duvall does something to where he could merit some center field time.
Duvall
for
sucks.
when. Okay, well then I don't really see any major threats from
maybe
McCormick's playing time.
You know what?
Because Jake Myers can't. Jake Myers ain't got it.
No, I'm gonna say you're right on this one. I think you're right. I think his XBA is a 137. Wow.
It's a weird start. I'm just saying, like.
Oh, because he's putting everything either on the ground or in the air.
Exactly.
He literally has a 0% live.
Yeah, no liners yet. No liners. So he's got a couple homers and a handful of ground ball base hits. But he's taking his walks. He has 3 steals. This is McCormick we're talking about. And he's now at the top of that order. So I like that. He won't stay at the top of the order because when Altuve comes back, obviously he instantly gets inserted to the top. But fine, give me a number 6, 7
here. And do they let him run as much there? But either way, I think he's still going to play.
And if he steals 11...
That's fine.
That's
you got it. You got him for free. More than likely you're getting him off the wire.
Yeah, you're picking him up. What about First off, you're going to be surprised to learn that this guy's only 22 years old. But Victor Robles, no, I'm joking, but his actual age is even still kind of impressive. Did you know that he's only age 26 season?
Yeah, I do, because
Like,
he's on a bunch of my teams.
He's been in our consciousness for so long. I guarantee if you poll people, they're all saying 29 at the low end. Most people are probably saying low 30s. It feels like he's been around forever. But Victor Robles is off to a fantastic start. It is still very early, but the first thing that stabilizes statistically are plate skills, and his are electric right now. He has a 1.7 walk to strikeout ratio. That means he has 1.7 more walks than strikeouts, y'all. 14% walk rate, 8% strikeout rate, a corresponding 9% swing to strike rate, which is well below his 14% mark from last year. BABIP's off the charts, of course, so that'll come down. The triple slash will smooth out. He's 1 for 1 on the bases, doesn't have a homer yet, but at his best, he had 17 homers and 28 steals back in 2019. You said he's on a bunch of your teams. Are you back in on the Victor Robles train then?
I never left, baby.
Yeah.
I'm still. I mean, I did leave. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, he's
We
on
all
a bunch
left
of
for
my,
a little
he's,
while.
he's a bunch of my draft champions leagues, a couple of like deeper leagues where I've got him as like a 6 outfielder, my 5 outfielder league, that thing. But there are some really good signs, right? Like swing strike rate is down. His zone contact is way up. It's over 90% when you're talking about like a league average that usually runs around like 83, 84%. He's swinging outside the zone about 4% less, and he's become more aggressive in the zone. In zone swing rate is about 77%, up 6% from last year. These could all fall apart. And I mean, Myles Straw is another guy who's like, this same type of profile.
We're going to talk about him.
Really, really doing well right now.
We'll talk about him when we talk about the weekend pickups. But yeah, he's on fire right now too. He has like 18,000 steals already as well.
He's leading the majors in stolen bases. Myles Straw.
Listen, I got a soft spot for Robles, so I want this to be something. Again, not at this level. I don't think he'll stay at all these levels here. But if these plate skills are real, Robles is one of those guys that we talk about who could jump up like 10, 12 steals off of his total. He had 15 last year with a 273 OBP. If he's putting up a 320, 330 OBP, he's stealing 30 easily, in my opinion.
The problem is, as much as so many fantasy managers in the fantasy industry in general hates Victor Robles, there's only one organization that hates him more, and that's the Washington Nationals, because they continue to bat him 8th and 9th. They're just hitting 387, 472, 452 right now.
14% walk rate. Can't lead off.
He's striking out 8% of the time, and he's hitting 8th or 9th every day.
Over Alex Call. No offense, I kind of like Alex Call. Yeah,
on the Nationals. He's not on the Astros or the Dodgers or even the Giants. He's on the Nationals. He is batting in the bottom of the order.
It's PTSD. It's PTSD from how poor he played for several years. I think.
Yeah, this is ridiculous.
I mean, I'd be leading him off. I mean, I have a soft spot for him.
Do something
maybe there's a comfort level down there though too. We don't know, right? Like if he's fine down, you're pitching the Nats with your eyes closed no matter what. First spot in the order, last spot in the order. Sure, I'm just saying maybe there's a comfort level and he's fine batting down there, but he should be leading off instead of Alex Call, who in his own right has some fantasy appeal too in deeper formats. Don't get me wrong, but I like Victor Robles. I hope there's some legitimacy here. I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed that we're witnessing some real growth from our boy here. Let's go to the Rays real quick. Talk Luke Raley, because there was an injury to who got hurt. God, why do I keep forgetting? Somebody went on the IL for them. Jose Siri. And while that does not help him directly, meaning he's not going to play center, it will move Margot over to center and open more avenues for Luke Raley, is what I almost said. Luke Raley, who is a platoon guy, but he's a strong side platoon. Do you have any heat for Luke Raley as a deep league option to possibly replace your Adam Duvall? Because he's more of the direct comp as far as the power with the low batting average. These other guys have been a bit more dynamic, with Robles being more speed and a little bit of power thrown in, McCormick being kind of a bit of everything. But Raley is kind of your direct Duvall potential replacement because he's shown a bunch of power early on. How do you feel about the Rays' former prospect? I think years ago he's 29.
Yeah,
Age 28. Excuse me.
Like he's got a 21.7% strikeout rate, but his swinging strike rate is like 17.5%.
Which, for those that don't know, that means that the strikeout rate is going to go way up.
Yeah, like it's just like, and this is his kind of MO. We've always known he's had power in the bat, but he's never made enough contact to matter. Like I don't think that is changing. This is like just a hot stretch. And
Ray's Devil Magic?
No, okay. Because the skills aren't there. Like Ray's Devil Magic comes from like, hey, them teaching you to be a better player, and it doesn't work for every player. Just ask Josh Lowe and Vidal Brujan.
Lowe's looking decent to start too.
I don't believe that either. So
you can say that later when we. Oh no, I didn't put him on the list because his rate was too high. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Josh Lowe hater over here. Jesus. Yeah. No love.
He's like the 7th best Lowe.
So okay, that said, with regards to Raley. It's the same thing that we said about Duvall, though. So, do you ride the hot streak to get the power, or do you go with one of these more dynamic guys and not worry that you're giving back some of the power? Like rank them, rank the three of them with McCormick, Robles, Raley.
I think that's the right order.
Okay.
McCormick, Robles, Raley.
I think so too. Okay, let's move over to Aaron Civale, who went onto the IL with an injury, and I say that because I forgot what it was. So give me 1 second to find that out. But yeah, it's definitely something. Oh, an oblique. And I hate obliques for hitters quite a bit, but I hate them for everybody. It's awful. Somebody named Peyton Battenfield will apparently be taking his spot in the rotation.
Not a real player.
Totally a fake player that NBC Sports Edge is making up. They got me to say it on the podcast. They tricked me because that's definitely not a real guy. So let's talk about some real guys who could replace him. Let's start with the shallow and talk Justin Steele. Who I know you in deep leagues are like, what do you mean picking him up off the wire? I promise you, he's available in Yahoo leagues because he's a Cub, probably. I mean, 62%. So there is some availability there. Justin Steele, Zach Eflin, and Kenta Maeda. Let's group them all together. Maeda pitched today. He did fine. 6 innings, 4 runs, 3 strikeouts is okay. 83 pitches. He left his first start with some fatigue, but looked brilliant in that first start. So he's doing pretty well coming off of TJ. And then Zach Eflin, speaking of the Rays. Now, he's somebody I think we could get some Rays Devil Magic with. I could see them altering his arsenal, telling him how to use it best, and actually springing a breakout for him. So who do you like best of those three replacing Aaron Civale in a shallow league? If you even had Aaron Civale, I guess. But I don't know. Pitching's hard to find. So I assume Aaron Civale was rostered in some shallow leagues.
Yeah, for me, it's Eflin. Like I mean, I just trust the Rays. He's looked really, really good, getting swings 44% of the time outside of the zone. When he does give up contact, it's not hard contact. He's got a 14% swing and strike rate. I really like Zach Eflin, and I had been in on him early in the season and just. Early in draft season and just didn't keep up with the inflation as other people started jumping on board as well. And so I didn't get him in like kind of late in draft season, but I really wish I had. That rotation is deadly in Tampa Bay. And they don't even have Glass now right now.
I know. Like, McClanahan, Springs, Rasmussen, Eflin, and then they're going to replace Fleming with fucking Glass now when he's healthy.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
What a freaking group there. That's crazy. Let me say, I love Justin Steele too, though. So if one's not available and the other is between Eflin and Steele, I think you're no worse for the wear, really. I really, really like Justin Steele. I think he can have a nice season. I wish he could calm down the walks a little bit.
That's my only fear with him.
Yeah, and between he and Eflin, there's a big difference there. So it is going to probably be a pretty big whip difference. That said, Steele does make up for it with being difficult to square up. So he does keep the hits in check, especially in the second half of last year. So I do like both of them. I do lean toward Eflin as well. And then as far as Maeda, what is your outlook on him? Like I said, he left that first start with fatigue, but he pitched 6 innings today, 83 pitches, which isn't a huge number, but he was able to get 6 innings with it. Are you in on Maeda? Because I know we've both loved him in the past, but he is coming off TJ this year. So how do you feel about him?
Yeah, I just don't trust guys coming off TJ. They really, really worry about their control and command. Didn't walk anybody today, so that's a really good sign, but did give up a home run. And only 3 strikeouts.
Alberto at that.
Yeah, that's a little weird.
He did have 1 million strikeouts in that first outing, though. So that
Yeah,
was nine in the first start. So
I just don't know what to make of it.
no, but that hits on exactly the point you're talking about coming off TJ. The inconsistency start to start is exactly why they scare me so much. Like whenever somebody comes off of the IL from TJ in season and he's a hot pickup and he has like 2 or 3 good starts, you start seeing people brag about it. Like, oh, I knew it. I picked him up. And then he has like 3 duds in a row. It's like, that's the problem. It's that inconsistency where they just don't have their command. And I've heard Smoltz talked about it when he was with Eno and I on the pod eons ago about how that season that he returned, he was just like, I would just come to the yard and I had nothing that day and it came out of nowhere and I had no idea why. And it was unlike anything he'd experienced previously with regards to days where he didn't have his stuff. So that's why I'm afraid of TJ returners as well. I totally agree with you there. Let's talk deeply. So you rank them Eflin, Steele, Maeda, right?
Yes.
Okay, so deep league replacements, and that's obviously where Civale is much more rostered and going to be a bigger pain. Anthony DeSclafani, Drey Jameson going to this rotation, baby, because Zach Davies got hurt. And then Jhony Brito is back and started this weekend. Remember, we talked about him as a potential 2-start, but they used him over the weekend. What do you think of Tony Disco, Drey Jameson, and Jhony Brito? Who's your favorite there?
I think it's DeSclafani, but I'm really worried about the Giants in general. What the hell are they doing with this rotation? Like the first time it was DeSclafani starting, Maeda coming in as a quote unquote follower, or Manaea coming in as a quote unquote follower, and this time it was Manaea starting and Ross Stripling coming in as a follower. Like I feel like they went, you know what? In 2021, platooning worked for hitters, so let's try it for pitchers.
Let's platoon our pitchers. Yeah, like they want to run. It's like we have 6 starter potential guys. Let's run like a starter platoon. Yeah, you're exactly right.
It feels like every week there's going to be a different guy that becomes a 3-inning follower.
I think Webb is going to be the only one that gets to do his thing, and then the other guys.
I think Cobb too. I think Cobb. And this will all end as soon as one of them goes down, and almost all of them have injury issues. Have injury issues in that.
Unfortunately.
So I think it will work itself out. So. Because of that, I'm going to say that DeSclafani is a really, really interesting and good pickup right now. He's pretty much always been good when healthy, especially if you can quell the homer issues. And there's no park that quells homer issues as well as Oracle Park. So
I agree.
I like DeSclafani a lot. Drey Jameson, I really like him, but the walks, man. The walks are like a real issue. He's given up a few home runs already this year. And I just worry that that's gonna he's not gonna be able to untap the potential because he keeps walking guys.
So let me say that might not be as big of a problem as a starter with a theory, not something that I can prove. Because watching him, I've been watching a lot of baby snakes. You know, I like these baby snakes this year. I got a bunch of them on fantasy teams, and I love Drey J myself. I think coming out of the bullpen, he was kind of overthrowing a bit. The velo went up, and I do think he lost his command and control a bit. And I hope that going back to the rotation where he needs to pace himself a little bit more, he gets back on track and realizes, okay, I can't just go for all the velo. I'm going to be out here for more than just 2 innings, which, he was getting multi-inning efforts. I do think that there's a world where he gets back to walking, say, closer to 6 to 8%, which is certainly palatable, while still missing bats and being useful. Because I agree with you. If he's walking double-digit rates, that's really tough for Jameson. He had a 15% walk rate in these first 8 1/3, 2.2 homer per 9. So that's the command and control both failing him. I do wonder if he'll tone it down now that he's back to starting and get his command back under control. That's my theory.
Yeah, I think he's last on this list for me. For me, the next guy, Jhony Brito, is...
You got Brito over Drey J? How dare you?
I think with the state of the Yankees rotation, Brito's job is a little bit safe. Domingo Germán may be the person who loses out if they need to kick one of these guys out of the rotation. Not Brito. Brito's looked really, really good. He's had 2 5-inning starts. He's walked a total of 3 guys in those 10 innings.
5 hits only.
Yeah, he's only given up 5 hits. When he does give up contact, it's not hard contact. He's getting a 56% ground ball rate. Like everything you want from a young pitcher is there in Brito. I don't know that he's going to go very deep into games very often. I think the Yankees are going to rely upon that bullpen so he's kind of a 5 and dive kind of guy. But man, that is one of the best teams in baseball. You're going to get a lot of wins. Give me Brito here.
That's fair. And then you're saying that when Rodon and Sevy return, when the first one of them returns, that Domingo could lose the job. Ramon could lose the job over Brito. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Unless we see something, we're going to see a 2-start here from Herman this week. So if
unless he pops off.
Unless he does something, I think when Rodon comes back, and then I think Brito has a chance to keep that job.
I'm sticking with Drey J, but I feel you on the Brito love.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens with Herman this week. He only has 1 start, so nothing to really go off of. I put him in the order that I liked him: DeSclafani, Jameson, Brito. But I will move mentally in my head Jameson and Brito closer together. Mitch Garver went to the IL. That happened while we were going, or at least the news popped up of it that I hadn't seen the first time. So he wasn't heavily rostered.
I am shocked by this news.
Absolutely blown away. So it's really a deep league replacement here. So Logan O'Hoppe, Yasmani Grandal, and Jason DeLay in 2-catcher leagues where you're replacing Garver. Who are you looking at there between those 3?
If O'Hoppe is not rostered in pretty much every 12-team format, even 1-catcher format, that is a mistake. I think I was not in on O'Hoppe. I will give you the kudos for saying he was going to make the opening roster. I think I got a little gypped by Theis getting hurt, but
I came around late because I was worried about that too, though. So I appreciate the credit, but I was also nervous about that, saying, are they going to do this?
I don't think he would have. I don't think he would have made the roster had Theis not.
That was my concern.
Had Stassi not gotten hurt.
Stassi's the one who got hurt, and so they could keep Theis that way.
Yeah.
And that was the concern, was they had 3 guys and Theis is out of options, and so I was getting nervous about him. But O'Hoppe's here, he's playing, and I guarantee, or I shouldn't say I guarantee, but I feel like even when Stassi comes back,
I think he's the guy. I think O'Hoppe. Is it O'Hoppe or O'Hoppe?
It is O'Hoppe. It is.
Okay.
Eric told me on that one. That it is indeed O'Hoppe.
I think O'Hoppe is legit in the real deal. I think he is a top 12 catcher moving forward. I think he should be rostered over guys like my boy Danny Jansen and
Dan Jan.
I think he should be on pretty much he should be rostered in every 12-team or deeper league. He may not be on your team because you don't want to roster him, but he should be rostered. So if you're cycling through catchers and O'Hoppe's out there, stop cycling and just grab O'Hoppe.
Okay. And what do you think about Grandal? I liked him for a bounce back this year. I want to say you did too, and he's pretty decent so far. So how do you feel about him if O'Hoppe's not available?
Yeah, I mean, I think Grandal is going to get back into that 12-team conversation. I mean, he's hitting 300, 400, 500 right now, which is exactly what we see. Hit another home run today. Strikeout rate's 25%. I think he is who we thought he was. We just let him off the hook.
You can't let him off the hook. No, his body was a mess last year. That's what he said. So he kind of rebuilt it from the ground up, went through some rigorous training. I know that's the old best shape of their life, but sometimes there's some legitimacy to that. And I do think that was the case with Grandal. And then if you're really desperate, Jason DeLay is playing a lot for Pittsburgh. And I think if you just need a body, he's not a terrible option. That's I don't know about him.
Yeah, go get Nick Fortes. Stallings is banged up right now. He's
but
more.
In 2-catcher leagues, I think he's
already gone. It's probably
that's why I brought up DeLay, because I think somebody like Fortes is already smoked.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's move on then. Oh, Kevin Smith called up. This is for deep leaguers. Any interest in Kevin Smith for Oakland? Okay.
Not really.
Let's talk about some pickups of the weekend then. Let's go back to Milwaukee. They've been featured here on the show. We talked about Brice Turang, Garrett Mitchell. They have 2 of the hottest pickups in shallow leagues. Brian Anderson and Joey Weimer were big pickups in deeper leagues last year. This week they made the shallow league circuit, and they were big pickups because they continue to rock. Who's your favorite between them, and what's your full season outlook on them the rest of the way? Brian Anderson and Joey Weimer.
Man, it's hard. Weimer.
Joey Weimer.
Yeah, I mean, I think in your shallow leagues, I think Weimer has the greater upside. Like the power speed. I mean, he's very similar to Garrett Mitchell, where like the power speed like combo is really, really tantalizing. But I think the strikeout rate will catch up to him eventually. The safer play is Brian Anderson because I think he is going to continue to play. He's third base eligible and outfield eligible.
And he plays. He's, pardon me for interrupting you. He's Garrett Mitchell's replacement. The way they shift around, it ends up being Anderson that jumps to the corner, and I forget who shifts over to Weimer shifts over to center, and Yelich takes the other corner. That's the way it works there. So I think Brian Anderson's the steady Eddie, and Weimer is the high upside guy, like you said.
Yeah, I know that Anderson's strikeout rate is like a little bit higher than we kind of expect, but he's got a 12% swing strike rate right now. He's got a 25% O swing, making good contact. Like I think he's just going to continue to be. He's not going to be great like he has been, but he's going to be pretty good rest of the way, and I think he's going to play a lot. Whereas Weimer, I think he could flame out pretty easily.
He could be volatile, yeah. And from 2018 through 20, Brian Anderson had a 115 WRC plus playing in Miami. I think it could be like a 120, 125 WRC plus with decent power, solid average, and good runs and ribbies in Milwaukee. Whereas with Weimer, if he pops, could be huge like Garrett Mitchell. Like you said, he's another guy that invokes that sort of Carlos Gomez peak type of deal. Although he takes more walks. So
he does.
To Weimer's credit, he is a better walker there. So maybe the Gomez comp isn't perfect. You invoked the name of Myles Straw earlier, and I will say, I'm never usually a fan of rabbits, and it's usually when they cost a lot, like Myles Straw did last year. This year, he was an afterthought, and I'll let you say your free thing because he was damn near free. Like people were not in on the Myles Straw train this year, and here he is now, really taking advantage of the new rules. He has 6 steals already. He has a 19% walk rate. Do we think there's any legitimacy to what Myles Straw is doing? Obviously, the 458 BABIP will come down, but is he going to go? Is he going to go and be that crazy steals guy this year and steal 40 for somebody? Is he this year?
I mean, he could. He absolutely could. Like the batting average is completely, fake. Like this. He is a fraud in terms of the batting average. Like his XBA is 248, which is kind of what you expect him to hit, right? It's like 248.
You're paying for 250s.
Yeah, and so like that's going to come back down to earth because he's actually making less zone contact than he did last year.
That's crazy. In fairness, Birdie only hit 240 last year, but he stole 41 bases. So if we're keeping that comp together, then Straw can just be that.
And I think that's what he's going to be. He's going to be a guy who, he can get on base because of the walk. He'll hit a little bit, but it's really, really empty stolen bases for the most part. Like he could lead the majors in stolen bases, 40 stolen bases. If he steals 50 bases, I'm not going to be surprised.
No, I agree. 40 is kind of low with the rules.
He's already got 6 in the first 10 days.
You're dead right.
So he could do that, but he's also a guy that if, right now we're seeing the hot Myles Straw, there's going to be moments where he's hitting like his body weight and he doesn't weigh a lot.
Skinnier guy.
You got to kind of take the good with the bad, enjoy this now, and then be okay that you're not going to get that batting average later because I don't expect him to hit, 270, much less 340 or whatever he's hitting right now.
Yeah, if you need Straw's steals, you need to be prepared to get a 230, 240 average from today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Trevor Larnach is off to a nice start, and he's batting at the top of the order very consistently in the top 3. He led off today, actually, against Maeda in that Monday afternoon game. And he's, not tearing the cover off the ball power-wise, just the 1 homer so far. But, riding one of those hot BABIPs, walking a ton. So he's got 324, 439, 471. Looking like the guy, though, that's going to play consistently in left field a little bit every once in a while, moving over to the other side of the corner in right field. What do you think of Trevor Larnach? Is he somebody that you're eyeing in shallow formats right now? Because he's already rostered in deeper formats. Is he somebody you want in shallow ones?
I mean, as a short-term like fill-in kind of guy, sure, but like he doesn't have the fantasy juice. Like he's a much better real-life player than he is a fantasy player.
He's always taking walks.
Yeah, he can make contact, but like he was a top 50 prospect at one point. But again, that was on like real-life lists. That wasn't like on fantasy lists. There was always this idea that like he's probably not going to be as good of a fantasy player just because he doesn't have a ton of power. And he has no speed really.
Yeah.
I think he's fine in the short term, especially because right now they're batting like third, fourth in the lineup, and so he could get some, cheap RBIs. But as this team gets healthy, he's going to lose playing time, and he's really needs that volume to be successful. So as much as I like Larnach for like a really deep league perspective, because I do think like he can just be an accumulator, Larnach for a shallow format, like he probably isn't going to have the long term fantasy juice.
I think that's totally fair. If he can tap into some of his raw power, there could be something there.
Yeah.
But right now, he looks like more of just kind of an average power guy. So you're looking like upper teens, maybe low 20s pop. So we need to see some more power tapped into there for him to really be a shallow league type of guy. A couple pitchers being picked up in shallow leagues this week. Kyle Gibson has a two-step that includes Oakland, so that's definitely got him on the radar. And Seth Lugo now making the rounds after 2 quality starts so far. Let's talk about your boy, Kyle Gibson, on a two-step. Gets the A's tonight and then at the White Sox on the weekend. How do you feel about him? Because obviously if you're listening to this, today, he's already got the Oakland start, so you can't get him. Would you pick him up for at the White Sox start in a weekly league if he goes out and has a good outing tonight against the Triple A's?
I think I only want him if I got him for both. So
Me too, and this is the best one, so it's kind of tough.
Yeah, I don't think I want him at Chicago. Like, he survived the 2 road starts to open up the season. He now gets the A's at home. Great, but now, I mean, we saw what like the Chicago White Sox did, the Giants did to the Chicago White Sox pitching in Chicago. Like, that's not friendly
That's
confines.
still a good park to hit in. Yep.
Yeah, like I don't think I want him up against Chicago's lineup. Even without Eloy, like that still can be a dangerous lineup.
Yeah, I totally agree there. Seth Lugo, as I mentioned, pitching very well. Dominated last night on Sunday Night Baseball against the Braves in Atlanta with 6 innings of 1-run ball. Did walk 4, but got around it by only allowing the 1 run. 5 strikeouts. Had 7 against Colorado in his opener, so he's looked wonderful. How do you feel about what Seth Lugo's doing? And is he someone you're picking up in shallow formats?
67.6% ground ball rate right now. Like he is just letting that
against him.
Defense doing the work for him, which is fine because the defense behind him is pretty good. I think for the short term, you're riding with him. I think long term, there are going to be real questions about like how does his stuff hold up as a starter in the long term, because we see him be really, really good as a reliever over the long term, but like, will the innings start to wear him down because he doesn't have the experience, throwing 140, 150 innings? That's a problem for later, though. So for right now, yeah, I'm riding with Seth Lugo.
Yeah, that's the later term issues. By then, you might have already found several guys to replace him, but I think he's a must roster in shallow formats right now. Seth Lugo for the Padres. Let's talk some deep league pickups. Chris Bubich, old tit scratch, with a big 9K outing. I feel bad for anybody who was in on him coming into the weekend, and they're like, this is my guy. And then he goes out and throws 9 strikeouts on Sunday, because that raised the prices big time. There's nothing worse than a guy you were already targeting popping off on Sunday because the prices are going up. And he had a pretty solid first outing against Toronto. So there is a world where deep leaguers were in on him saying, oh, nice little velo jump. Okay, I could be in. And then he kills it, and you have to raise that price big time. 30% K rate so far, 2% walk rate, 19% swinging strike. This is all in 11 innings for Chris Bubich. But he's off to a wonderful start, keeping the ball down as well, 56% ground ball. Anything here with Chris Bubich, former prospect for the Royals?
Man, this is hard because the numbers say yes. The numbers, like all those numbers you read out, the zone contact's down, the O swing's up, the velocity's up, swinging strike rate's up. Like all those numbers are telling me yes. But it's Chris Bubich. Like I just don't believe it.
He can develop. He's only 25.
This is biased, but he's only 25.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
He's
Feels
pretty
like
young.
He's been around for a while.
Because he was a prospect with some names, so you probably he's probably been in your consciousness since he was drafted in 18. So it's feels longer, but no, he's pretty young, and I think he was a high school guy too.
I'm gonna ride it.
He was college.
I'm gonna say ride it for now, but the first sign of trouble, jump off.
Okay.
But the numbers say ride it, and
he gets Atlanta this week. Would you put him in your lineup if you picked him up yesterday?
I'm not, but you probably should. But like I said, like I can't get past the name. Yeah,
I take the shot. I think I would. Bubic. I hear you with being like, really, this guy's doing it. I feel like him. I see him as like a right-handed Mitch Keller, Brad Keller at times, right? Yeah. Even though they're not that similar, I just group them together.
And Brad Keller's looked better. Like it's
he's done some positive things too. Yeah. So I between the two, I trust Bubic way more, though. I will say that.
I don't. I trust Brad Keller more.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, dude. He's not missing bats the way Bubic is.
Brad Keller has shown in the past to have extended stretches in which he is useful for fantasy, whereas Bubic is not.
That's not a wrong point, but I don't think that's a good enough reason to not go with Bubic.
Yeah, but this is like I'm saying, like the numbers say the opposite, right? Like,
yeah,
if you want to be data driven, and
Velo up,
and we want
all that
should
stuff,
want to be data driven, the answer should be Bubic.
Okay. That is my answer, by the way. I
am saying, like, in spite of that, my brain and gut and soul are telling me that neither of them should be or no go. But if there's one no go, it's Keller.
Okay, that's fair. You're putting it on the table. You're saying where your bias is.
I'm being honest.
If people believe, that's the thing. If they want to ride with you, they know what the bias is there.
Don't ride with it. Don't ride. Like just.
You can ride with me, but I'm just going off the numbers so far, and I'm riding it.
I'm traveling on the highway to hell, baby. Don't ride.
I do agree with you, though, that I'm going to jump off with relative quick. Not as quickly as you said. You said first sign I'm jumping off. Like, if he gets rocked by Atlanta, I think I'm
not as worried about, because there's going to be plenty of starts versus bad teams. So.
Yeah, if the Tigers murk him, that's a little something where I'm like, and I don't know when he faces them. I'm just saying if a team like that murks Bubic, then I'm like, dang it, that sucks. And maybe the wheels are already coming off. So yeah, he's definitely a deep league pickup though. What about Matt Straw? Ranger Suarez is working his way back, and Bailey Falter's looked pretty good so far. So I wonder if by the time Matt Straw finally works his pitch count up to go 5+ innings, he's going to get ousted. Now, don't plan for that because the second you do, then somebody else will get hurt and he'll have an avenue anyway. But how do you feel about Strahm right now? Because he looked pretty good in that first start, and I think he has a two-step this week.
He does have two-step, and it's a pretty
on Friday.
It's somewhat tantalizing two-step with Cincinnati being a part of that, I believe.
It's Miami and at Cincinnati.
Yeah.
The only problem is it's at Cincinnati, but that lineup has not gotten off to a good start.
I mean, until he starts going deep enough to qualify for win, I don't really care.
That's the scary part, yeah.
And because now you're saying, oh, there's blow up potential, and he's not going to qualify for a win. So, I'm probably staying away for Strom for right now. But I understand why he was a big pickup in deeper leagues this week because of that two-step.
Yeah, I totally get that because I think some people were saying even if I don't get a win and I get 9 innings of good work with 12 strikeouts, I'll take it type of deal from Strom. So,
I don't think you're going to get 12 strikeouts. I think you're going to get 7 strikeouts.
Didn't he have a bunch of strikeouts in his first outing?
He had 3 strikeouts in 4 innings.
Oh, okay. Well, then, maybe Miami's going to strike out a bunch. We'll see.
Yeah.
Bryce Elder gets a 2-step for Atlanta. He gets Cincy at home, and then a trip to KC. Is he facing Bubic? Let me see. No, it's Greinke. Damn, I wish he was going up against our other guy here. But what do you think of Bryce Elder? He's one of those Atlanta guys. He doesn't do anything off the charts, but he's a pretty good pitcher. Showed some flashes last year. Are you in on Bryce Elder at all, at least in the short term for deep leagues?
I think I am. He got 6 strikeouts against the Cardinals in 6 innings.
That's really a nice,
good team to get 6 strikeouts from. So, I think I would roll with him. Again, this is one that could go sour pretty quick. He does tend to give up a lot of contact, but
because he doesn't miss a ton of bats generally for Elder.
Yeah. But I think he's a guy that I'm willing to roll with because he typically has pretty good control. As long as he keeps the ball in the yard, I think he'd be fine.
Okay, I think I totally agree with that, and I would have picked. I mean, I put him in my list of things, but I actually got outbid on Elder, so I wasn't able to get him. Let's talk a few hitters. David VR on your beloved Giants as well, playing a bunch, platooning basically with JD Davis. He's on the strong side. Any love for David VR so far?
I mean, David VR is exactly as advertised. This is a big bat. that can hit some bombs, but he's gonna strike out. Like he's gonna strike out a bunch, and so it's just a matter of how long will the Giants allow him to strike out at like a 35% rate? Because
It's
that's
deeper
what's probably
format
gonna
though,
happen.
so
Yeah,
right. I mean, we
I
know
picked
that
him up in a couple leagues this week. Like
because the
because
threshold is lower.
mhm.
Sorry, continue. I interrupted you twice.
No, I mean I don't have that much more. Like I mean he is who we think he is. It's just going to be a matter of it's just going to be a matter of whether the Giants are willing to put up with the strikeout rate. Like and
so far they are, because he's batting in the middle of the order, and he started against lefty yesterday on Sunday. He's starting against the lefty today. Or no, he is a right-hander. Wait, so how do they platoon him and they're both righties? I thought VR was a lefty. I'm so wrong.
Oh no, VR's a righty. Yeah.
Okay. So does he play consistently enough against righties? I guess would be the question.
I mean, at this moment he does, because they don't.
So far he is. Yeah.
They don't have the people to platoon right now.
Yeah, that's the thing. Okay, I thought he was the strong side.
Maybe when Haniger comes back, that changes, because then they've got to move Jock Peterson back to DH, and that's one less spot for like a Davis or other guys. So, but at the moment, like I think he's gonna play. The question is, can he play well enough that he kind of establishes himself in the middle of that lineup for when Haniger does come back and other guys.
So that they choose VR when everyone's healthy. That's a good call.
Yeah.
Akil Baddoo, my boy's back, came up over the weekend, batted first a couple times. He was hitting the ball well, doing his thing in AAA thus far. I went for him. I couldn't quite get him. I ended up getting Franchi, who has 7 righties this week. I guess I could have included him on this list too. But what do you think of Baddoo? Obviously, I was super high on him last year. That didn't quite work out. But he is leading off right now, and I mean, I think he's a deep league.
He's hitting 400.
He's a valuable deep league pickup, at least right now. He can have power and speed. Do you see anything from my boy Baddoo? Everyone knows where my bias is, so let's get a less biased take from you here.
Listen,
if you say anything bad, I swear to God.
I like Akil Baddoo, but the Tigers don't kid me.
I know we but don't do it. Well, they but don't like him, and we but don't do anything good as a team.
Yeah, so I like the fact that they brought him up and he let off, and he is he's let off in both the games that he's played. I think that if he continued to hit righties, he can establish himself as a strong side platoon guy. Who knows if and when Austin Meadows comes back. Yeah,
so Meadows left for mental health issues. Let's wish him the best on everything with that. It can be such a difficult battle. But there is a world where Baddoo established himself, that even when Meadows comes back, it doesn't necessarily mean that Baddoo instantly leaves if he starts playing like he did in his rookie year. But he has to do that, though. Yeah,
so we know there's power, we know there's speed. I'm willing to take the gamble and know that I can move. Like, I feel like if he's gonna end up like crashing and burning, we'll know, and they'll get him out of the lineup, back down to AAA, and he's an easy cut. So like, you ride him until they cut him, and then you cut him.
Yep, I think that's totally fair. I'm hoping for the best. I hope he's kind of a post-hype guy. That'd be wonderful. Alec Burleson is our last guy to discuss here. He's playing right now pretty consistently because Nootbaar's out. Nootbaar did travel to Colorado. They don't expect him back for this series, but he's with the team in case everything is ready. So I think he at least got Burleson for this week, pretty much. And then we'll see. He'll be back in pretty much a big dogfight for playing time after that. But what do you think of Alec Burleson? Because not only is he playing, but he's batting number 2. So that shows, I think, some real love for him, that when he is playing, they like having him up at the top of the order, and he's looked pretty decent so far.
Yeah, it's an interesting profile. Like, I feel like if everything went right for him, he could be like Andrew Benintendi-ish, which like high batting average and does enough of hitting for power and enough of in the stolen base department to be interesting. But I think he also needs that volume.
Does he run that much though? Because Benintendi's like a double-digit guy. Or are you just saying because the hitting profile that part makes sense to me?
Yeah, he's not fast. So
okay,
a speedless Benintendi then.
Okay,
like he's
Verdugo.
Yeah,
Verdugo doesn't really run.
Yeah, I think Verdugo is probably a better comp. High in zone contact rate. I think there's more power than Verdugo, but
okay. So we're getting there on our comps. So we'll do 10, 12 more comps, guys, and then we'll nail it.
Yeah, exactly. The problem is, I think he really needs that volume, and I don't see the path to that, even short term or long term. Because once Lars Nootbaar comes back, he's going to be back
this week.
Yeah, I need him back.
Fingers crossed. God, so do I, dude. My team fucking blows.
My team doesn't blow, and I need him back.
Yeah. It's just a guy we took early. We want him back. But yeah, Burleson looks good right now. They have such an embarrassment of riches. Dylan Carlson is looking all right. I know you're not a huge fan. I'm not trying to sell you on him, but he's playing fine when he's getting playing time.
Mm-hmm.
Gorman's looking nice. I wonder, would be really working out for us would be if they just trade Tyler O'Neill, because apparently they hate his guts.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing about not running it out or whatever, and I don't know.
They need to trade somebody.
I'm getting Colby Rasmus vibes from the Tyler O'Neill situation right now in terms of
that's a name right there.
How quickly it melted down, and maybe he's just better off somewhere else. And it's not like they don't have 12 replacements for him. They put Carlson in center.
Get a rotation piece, or
get an arm. I mean, somebody can use Tyler O'Neill. Somebody would pay a real arm too. You wouldn't get fleeced there if you're the Cards.
The problem is who has an arm that they can.
Who has an arm to give? That's a great question.
Yeah,
and that I can't think of off the top of my head. That would actually be interested, because you'd think you would want to do it with somebody who's contending, and that would need an outfielder
and not in your division, so you can't trade him to the Cubs or something.
Yeah. Because they do actually have some depth. That actually, I mean,
the Diamondbacks? No, the Diamondbacks don't really need an outfielder, right?
No, they're outfield heavy. The Marlins, I know we tried to trade all of their pitchers.
The Marlins don't need an outfielder either. The Marlins.
That's true. That's the one spot where they actually are heavy. They need a middle infielder.
The Marlins would be a great
Gorman.
Yeah, Gorman of the Marlins, exactly.
Gorman's still the right fit for them. They need to do a Gorman for pitcher trade.
The Rays?
There you go.
But what arm would you trade them? Because they don't want...
The top four are too good. First off, you're not going to trade Eflin right after signing him, and then the other three are way too good for O'Neill. And that's more of promoting them than I am dissing.
Taj Bradley.
Okay, so they go the prospect route. Oh, man. Taj Bradley for Tyler O'Neill.
I like how we're wasting 10 minutes on hypothetical potential trade partners.
Only the diehards are listening, and they love this late, and they love this shit. So it's fine. That'd be interesting. I'm trying to think of any other team though that needs a pitcher that's a contending team, or that needs an outfielder that has a pitcher. I don't know, because usually you instantly look at the Dodgers, but they're the other way. They need the pitcher right now.
Forrest Whitley.
Is that enough for him? Forrest Whitley.
For Forrest Whitley? Enough for O'Neill.
Yeah,
if they hate him, I think it is.
Well, if they hate him, yeah, but I think they can get more. They can be like, yeah, we hate him, but we need more than that. Forrest Whitley and David Hensley.
Mm-hmm. What about the Rangers?
Now the Rangers, the difficult part about trading a pitcher for them is how fragile their pitching is, right? If you could sprinkle health dust over them.
They've got a million arms, in that bullpen that could be starters. So
I who I'm really keen on this year, and I can't wait till he gets a chance, is Cole Reagans.
But he's 8th in the pecking order.
No, I know. I'm just saying he will get a chance, dude. DeGrom, Eovaldi, Gray, and Heaney. You don't think he's going to get a chance with those four?
The problem is all of their starters are guys they just effing signed.
That's what I'm saying. And so it's who do you really
John
trade
Gray
for O'Neill?
John Gray in a piece or something
Gray for O'Neill as the centerpiece of a deal?
Yeah.
I could see that. And then Adelise moves over to a corner, or Adelise stays in center and O'Neill plays.
Adelise stays in center, and Robbie Grossman goes back to the hole.
Grossman could still play. You don't need to play Bubba Thompson. No offense, Bubba Thompson. I'm sorry. Actually, all offense. Yeah, it would be Grossman, O'Neill.
No, Tavares is coming back.
Oh, yeah. When's he coming back?
Today, I think.
Oh, excellent. Well, I can't wait till that. Anyway, yeah, we are wasting people's time here at the end, but we're just trying to work out some deals. Anyway, good luck picking up some players. It's still early. Just keep telling yourself that, because that's all I do. I go stand in the mirror for hours on end and just keep telling myself it's early.
Sure.
It's early. It's early.
Update, Alex Call leading off, Victor Robles batting 8th.
They hate his guts, dude. Would you say that this hatred is of a Mott-like intensity?
I would say that. I will, because I'm just assuming you have not seen the lineup that was just released a few minutes ago. So I will give you $20 if, without looking, you can guess who is batting ahead of him in the lineup right now. So he is batting 8th, with CJ Abrams batting 9th. Who is batting 7th in the Nationals lineup? I will even give you the position.
Okay.
Second base.
Oh, God. Shit. Now, all my guesses were not second baseman.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Alcides Escobar?
It is not. It is Michael Chavez.
Oh, dude,
Batting
I did see that he was on their team.
Victor Robles.
I was looking at every depth chart yesterday, and I was like, when did he get there?
Yeah, I didn't know. That's why I was like, oh, there's no way Paul gets it.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize.
Because I was going to be guessing Jamer Candelario and Dom Smith. Like, I was
Candelario's batting 3rd in this
goodness.
lineup right now. He's hitting well right now.
No, I know. And I like Dom Smith, too. Like, I hyped up Candelario and Dom Smith.
I picked up Dom Smith
plays.
and played him in a couple.
So I'm not shading those guys, but I don't know why Robles can't get moved up.
Yeah.
That seems unfair, but and again,
like I know we joke about how bad the A's are, but man, the
Nats deserve some of that same heat. I agree.
This lineup has the feeling of like high school reunion slow pitch softball, like Lane Thomas, Heimer Candelario, Joey Meneses, Dom Smith. I mean, I'll exclude Kyber Ruiz and CJ Abrams because they're young guys.
They're young. They could become
long-term futures. But the rest of this lineup feels like all the old guys that are coming back to play that one softball game to relive the glory years.
100%. The Yankees old timers day.
Yeah, exactly.
53 WRC plus for Joey Meneses. I told y'all he was Frank Schwindel Jr. I shouldn't have got influenced by those two WBC homers. No, I'm just kidding. I think he'll be fine. But yeah, what's funny though is like
that might lead the Nationals lineup though.
That's true. 50... Well, no, we know that Robles is on fire. But yeah, he does have a 53 right. He just hasn't hit a homer. We'll see where Meneses is. The one thing, joking aside, if you are worried about Meneses, his strikeout walk rates are fine. His swinging strike rate is 10%. That's fine. He just hasn't hit for power yet. Like I wouldn't be that worried about him. Anyway. All right, let's get going. I'll be back in the middle of the week with a midweek episode. I don't know if it'll have a guest or if it'll just be me by myself. Some of y'all like the solo eps, some of y'all don't. So you can figure out if you want to listen to it or not. It's gonna be good no matter what. And
I'll be back on Friday. Yeah, I'll be back on Friday with you, and then Sunday with Jason.
Perfect. Talk to you later.
Take it easy.